are like focused on the device perspective. For my research, I'm studying like theoretical based on the Terahertz. So let's start with some motivations. Okay, from our perspective, we started from Helmholtz's law. Of course, the results will be same, but from different perspectives. So the Helmholtz law states that wireless data rates doubled every 18 months over the 3 decades. So by doing this projection, 100 gigabit per second or even terabit per second will become reality within the next decade. So which aligns with Professor Fujishima's projection. Right? To achieve that, we have 2 options mainly. One, we have more like advanced physical layer solutions. Okay. Second, we can use new spectral bands to support this high data rate. And apparently this latter way is more preferred. For example, in the 5G, right, 802.11 AD or AY, the millimeter wave has been proposed to be included in the 5G. However, if we look at it, okay, the mature millimeter wave systems are only able to support few gigabits per second. For example, AD states that 7 gigabits per second is achieved with 512 OFDM and 64 FOC, which is a lot, already very advanced. Why is that? Because of the bandwidth limitation. There is only 7 gigahertz of bandwidth around 60 gigahertz system. That's why. So if playing on this bandwidth, we need probably 100 bits per second per hertz to support terabits per second, which is apparently not realistic. So what's the solution? We can try the Terahertz band, which is lying right after the millimeter wave, right? Then, starting from 0.1 to 10 terahertz. I understand that we might have different definitions for the Terahertz band, but in general, this is a broad definition. And the big advantage is that it provides huge bandwidth, right? Multiple gigahertz or even terahertz. And another thing is not regulated yet, so that's why we are here to take this right time to pave the roadway of realizing this Terahertz band communication. And spectrum with Terahertz band is showing here compared to the millimeter wave and also the infrared. And also, we want to say that our solutions can also help the millimeter wave systems. Okay. So also from the standardization perspective, okay, in the US FCC has released a spectrum up to like 92 until 95 gigahertz, which means it's already penetrating into the low terahertz band. Also, IEEE 802.15 wireless PAN, which is actually a later organization that Professor Fujishima mentioned, the IG group. Now it's a task group. It aims at developing the first standard for 100 gigabits per second wireless links at terahertz band frequencies. And several other remarks, like for example, Japan recognized terahertz technology at the top of 10 national key emerging technology. I guess that's why we see so many Japanese experts here exploring this technology. Okay. Also, when I attended the IEEE task group meetings, I saw many Japanese experts. So maybe also that's a good time for us, like Chinese researchers, to catch up or to take actions. Okay. Several applications. Okay, from our perspective, we categorize into 2 groups. One, Macroscale, for example, like in the indoor case, we are now the very hot topics of virtual reality, augmented reality. The common thing is it requires probably tens or hundreds of gigabits per second data rates, wireless data rates, and also, of course, millisecond level latency. Okay, so this should be achieved probably even not enough by the 802.11 AD. Okay, the millimeter wave. Another thing is, okay, we can imagine some ultra-broadband office. Okay, when you bring a phone into your office, let's say you need. Okay, you use wireless connection to the cloud computing. Okay, and also it is too small to play on the screen, right? You should have an interactive, very large screen. So require wireless links as well. This also needs terabits per second wireless data transmissions. Then if we go to the nanoscale, okay, it's very surprising or interesting to see that the nanoscale antenna antenna basically actually operates in the terahertz band. Okay, then what does it mean to us? Okay, for example, we can realize the Internet of Nano things. For example, here in the indoor office, connecting the nanoscale to the microscale to the macroscale, right? That's also the title of this conference, Nano-Micro conference, right? And by using terahertz band. Also, wireless on-chip communications, okay, to allow 100 gigabits per second wireless on-chip networks. Okay, also using the nano antennas operating in the terahertz band. And that shows a full picture of our research. Okay, very ambitious, but of course takes a long time. So starting from the transceivers, antennas, like the device perspective, then we go to the channel modeling. We need to understand the spectrum peculiarities of terahertz. It's very new, right? Then also, of course, we can move up to physical layer design. Can we use the existing solutions? Probably not, because they do not best utilize the terahertz spectrum. Also, of course, with so many devices connected, for example, the Internet of Nano things, we need very novel new network layer solutions. And in the end, we want some terahertz physical testbeds to connect to validate all the solutions. Okay? From my perspective, actually I started from the channel modeling part, going to the physical layer, going to the network layer. And of course, I'm actively seeking the collaborations with the device partners to support their advancements. So the long-term goals, of course, is to realize the ultra-broadband communications in the terahertz band and also integrate all the solutions into the terahertz physical testbeds, including the device part, including the channel, including the theoretic part. And here, okay, today I'll just describe our recent findings in the medium access control. Okay. So actually just presented in IEEE ICC in May in Paris. Probably some of you were there also. Okay. So the terahertz spectrum looks like this. Okay. If we check from the 60 gigahertz until 1 terahertz, we plot the path loss for line of sight and also non-line of sight. Right? Of course, line of sight is preferred, but just in case, it is not available. So several properties we want to highlight. First, we have very high path loss. Also, we have frequency selective path loss. We have the peaks, right? For example, the water vapor creates those peaks. Then we have some distance adaptive bandwidths. Okay, by checking different distances, we see different bandwidths. Okay, how can we use these ideas to design our communication series? And also we have very short delay spread. We have large bandwidth, which is currently good for us. Then if we envision some network architecture centralized, okay, in this case, also like we are now also developing ad hoc network architecture solutions. And also, of course, we want directional transmissions in narrow beams to increase the distance, right? That's the main limitation of terahertz band communication. We have three-dimensional terahertz channel propagation. We showed that we actually mentioned we started from the channel. Okay, so we had 2 decays, 3 decays terahertz channel. We want to use the pulse waveform modulation. It is not the best, but it is a good starting point to have the pulse waveform modulation. And of course, we want to use the ADM, angular division multiplexing, analogous to the TDM. I will show more details later. So the terahertz MAC, okay, the spectrum medium is shared by multiple mobile nodes, and each of them will require 100 gigabits per second. So that's a very good challenge. And we want to leverage in the directional links, for example, thanks to the ultramassive MIMO or the very large antenna array. The principle, okay, different from the lower frequencies, the focus of the MAC needs to shift from the access potential, right? For example, we have CSMA, blah, blah, to the coordination and the scheduling. Okay, every device has a huge bandwidth to use, and each device requires very high data rates to transmit. So the focus becomes coordination and scheduling. And of course, plus we have an AP, we can do this. Some unique problems. First, the solution needs to be compatible with the very high data rates, unique channel, and the physical properties of the Terahertz band. Interference models are different because we have very directional beam, sharp beams. We also, with the directional links, new problems created. Of course, they give us gain, but they give us some disadvantages. For example, the deafness and the disparity problems. Okay? It's very hard to do the network association with purely directional beams. Several state-of-the-art we have been aware in the Terahertz band. Okay, I'll just quickly going through. Like for example, Professor like Whitehouse from Georgia Tech, they proposed some idea of pulse level beam switching map, and some remaining questions. Like for example, how does the AP switch beams? Is there any particular way to follow? And also how to deal with the silence nodes. Like for example, there are nodes there, but they do not transmit. Why do you also reserve resource for them, right? And delays and outages are not analyzed. And also from other University of Buffalo, Professor Jonette, and they proposed some receiver-initiated one-way handshake. Remember we said the network association is very hard from the transmitter perspective, right? Then they have the idea to say, okay, we start from the receiver-initiated handshake instead, okay? However, this still introduces some overhead. For example, we need to send CTS ACK sliding window, and also it didn't address the problem carefully of discovery. How does the transmitter points to the receiver, right? It's just only very a sharp beam. So our contributions are listed here. First, of course, we show the network architecture with all the unique problems. Then we propose memory-assisted Macroscale with ADM. We analyze the interference, the SINR in the network analytically. And also we provide some analytical models and numerical analysis for the things we care much, like for example, the outage probability, the throughput, and the delay. That's a flow chart of our scheme. I will check each box one by one. Okay, so first, the service discovery, right? First, we divide the service region into the multiple angular slots. The AP scans through each angular region by transmitting a directional narrow beam, which just looks like this. Right? We divide the region into many angular slots, and just like imagine the TDM, right? We have the time slot. Now we have the angular slot. We check each angular slot to find users. Okay. And next step is the angle determination and the network association. A node apparently and the AP will find the best angular slot to communicate with each other. And once this is determined, okay, the message transmission will start. Okay, the associated link with the specific angular slot is reserved in the memory between one node and the access point. So by checking the memory, the AP will just switch the narrow beam towards the registered angular slot instead of checking again all the slots, right? There are many unused slots. And the fourth thing is, okay, what if we have some new adders, newcomers, right? Or what if some node is blocked by others? It becomes unfair, okay? So we trigger some fairness reset to improve the network fairness and efficiency. So that's also completes the basic idea, the flow chart, okay? Service discovery, network association, of course, register to the memory, and we start the transmission, and at some point we need to trigger the fairness reset. Some novelties, okay? So the efficiency balance is achieved by equipping the nodes with omnidirectional antennas. at the service discovery phase, right? Also will enable the directional antennas for the message transmissions. Okay, this balance of the equipment of two types of antennas allows the high efficiency. Then the TDM idea is brought to the three-dimensional spatial domain into the ADM, as I mentioned. The memory is leveraged in the ADM scheme to skip all the unused slots to save time. Okay. Then we check the performance. First, the data rates we compare with the one without no memory assisted. As we said, that's the preliminary results. We are extending to the longer and more complete version, of course, to compare with other schemes. And apparently, the blue curve is our result with the memory, and the black one is without the memory. And the improvement in terms of the throughput is about 15%. And in terms of the delay, okay, the maximum delay of the proposed Mac is much lower than that without memory, which makes sense because without memory, the AP checks all the slots again and again. But with the memory, we ignore the unused ones. So delay apparently is a good justification for our scheme. Then the outage, we actually observe the two schemes having the same outage because the out of service occurs when more than one node collides for the same angular slot, or the SINR threshold is unsatisfied. These two conditions remain the same for the two schemes. That's why they have the same performance. And again, if we go back to this big picture, as I mentioned, we, as our group, started from channel modeling, extending to the physical layer. Actually, many of these items have been done from my group. And now we are extending to the network layer. And of course, we want to actively collaborating with the device groups here, and to achieve the long-term goal of realizing the ultra-broadband communications in the Terahertz Band. Right? So that's, I guess that's the common long-term goal of us here. Right? So that's the end of my presentation today. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you very much. Now the presentation is open for questions. Any questions?
I'm sorry, I cannot catch the point that's the difference of your angular division multiplication technique and the multi-user mime technique.
Multi-user what?
Multi-user mime technique that's employed for the AY and the other AC. That's it.
Multi-user MIMO.
Multi-user MIMO.
Okay. Okay, so very good question. So in terms of, so the best thing is to go back here. So first answer, direct answer. Mm-hmm. It is designed for the Terahertz Band. Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, our solution is very tailored in terms of the Terahertz channel peculiarities. In terms of the physical layer solutions, for example, we actually use the pulse-based modulation schemes, which are actually different from what it has been used for the multi-user, like existing standards. Okay. First, second, yes, I agree. We have some similarities, but again, here we also have the balance, like efficiency balance between like equipping the nodes with omnidirectional antennas and in the service discovery phase, and also the directional beams in the message transmission beams. Okay, first. Second, we leverage the memory, right? We skip all the unused things. And of course, as you mentioned, and also I totally agree, our idea has similarities, for example, to the TDM idea or to what you mentioned. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I have one question. So,
yes.
So how fast the upgrade frequency of this memory? So in that case, so yeah, the mobility of this device or the node would be limited to the frequencies of this memory updates.
Yes, so memory is actually a very good concern. We didn't put much effort in these preliminary results, but it has been considered in our longer extension, like the memory things, how we register into that. what will be the size of the memory, what will be the message type of the, like writing into the memory and then retrieving out. Thank you.
Any questions? I have another similar question.
Yeah.
Maybe you mentioned about massive MIMO at the base station or access point. How about the terminal? Terminal should align the beam too, because the antenna can be reduced.
Yes.
High frequency, so beam is quick and
Yes.
terminal too. So how do you?
Okay. So from our perspective, yes, the access point is more powerful to equip the massive MIMO. And as for the access point, maybe the massive definition is different. For example, in the mobile nodes, maybe just 8 antennas or 16 antennas. However, in the access point, it might be like 16 by 16, like very large rectangular size, like massive MIMO. So that's the difference.
But also, terminal has a sufficient size antenna.
Yes.
If terminal has a sufficient size antenna, antenna gain is increasing as you increase the frequency. So
Yes.
somehow, in the terminal, has to align the beam to the base station.
Yes.
But usually, power consumption at the terminal is limited. So how do you manage it?
We didn't consider much about the energy consumption, unfortunately. Yes.
Any other questions?